Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back to Broken Sword 5, the Serpent's Curse. Let's return to the game. We, last time, did not make any real progress, so let's try to speed up this process.
Yes, my child.
I'm probably going to have to talk to a lot of people, it's Nicole. We already talked about Father Simeon and the shooting, so let's do Henry, this, and this. All to begin with, and then we may come back and ask these questions again.
What do you know about Henri?
An innocent victim, insofar as any of us are innocent. If he was peddling such blasphemous works as the El Serp painting, then who knows what other sins he was hiding.
Yeah,
Father
speak
Simeon
ill of the
was
dead.
making me feel guilty. Priests always did that to me. What can you tell me about the painting?
Grotesque and evil.
How can a painting be evil?
By killing all who come into contact with it.
Does that mean we're next?
Laugh not at the devil's play, Miss Collard.
I guess it killed the people in the 1930s too.
Do you know anything about the painter El Serp?
He was a purveyor of blasphemy, a servant of the Antichrist.
How can you know that?
It is clear from his work.
Father Simeon was making a lot of assumptions.
Let's see.
This is my press card. As I said, I work for La Liberté.
Good. Be sure to warn your readers that this painting is evil.
Let's ask about the stain.
What do you think about that stain?
Is that blood?
I think it's just sauce.
Hmm.
I wonder if there's a mop anywhere.
We are facing death and divine retribution. This
So-
is no time for tidying up.
Father Simeon wasn't making much sense.
For this engine, even though it can do these 3D graphics, which I don't really like, and these nice backgrounds that I do very much like, and it can zoom in and zoom out, although I don't like how it zoomed in, zoomed out, it seems to miss just the basic feature of remembering whether you've had a conversation again. So if you end the conversation and come back, you just have them all again.
So, did you travel far to visit the exhibition?
No journey is too long when there is evil at the end of it.
And what's funny is it's a different response now,
So
too.
you really didn't see anything distinctive about the killer?
No, my dear. I was more concerned with the poor soul who lost his life.
So it's weird because there are duplicate conversations on the same icon, which is really why this should be the original system. It should tell you what sentence you're going to speak, and you should be able to click on it that way. Just take up more of the screen. Imagine this was being played on an iPhone. Like, which is easier, having a row of tiny icons to click on the bottom, or having 4 rows of conversations? Or 5 or 6 rows.
So why do you think the painting is evil?
There are some things it is best you do not know, my child.
Thank you for your time, Father.
Well, at that point, I guess I've exhausted everything.
The priest didn't appear to know anything.
What's funny is this guy, in his animation, does pull out a cross and is actually in his hands. But the general idea of her pulling out a press card and showing it to people doesn't work.
Are you Hector Lane, the art critic?
Enchanté, madame. And which of the angels are you?
I think we've met this
I'm
guy.
Nico Collard, a reporter.
Ah, a fallen angel then. My favorite sort.
So, watch your hands.
Here's my press card.
There's nothing in it.
And there was I thinking you were too young and beautiful to be a reporter.
Now let's ask all the questions.
What can you tell me about the painting that was taken?
It was called La Malediccio, an unknown work that only recently surfaced.
Who was the artist?
A mysterious figure known only as El Serp. Some say he was a student of Picasso. He was good, but not great, and his true identity remains unknown.
It would be kind of funny if it ended up being like George. He somehow went back in time and painted the picture himself. Remember, Broken Sword 3, George got the Excalibur and fought a dragon. That's really at the point where publishers had probably total control of the story and decided to do something really crazy.
What can you tell me about the theft?
Oh, it was truly awful.
I guess we can look forward to not having to do 3D platforming and box pushing in this game. Let's see. What can you tell me about the shooting and the sabotage?
Tell me about the shooting, monsieur.
Well, it all happened so fast.
Take your time. What did you see?
I can't be sure. Perhaps I could answer your questions over dinner.
I'm sorry, monsieur. I'm on a tight deadline. Did you see the thief?
I would have tackled him, but he was too quick for me.
This guy's fibbing.
Did you know that
To
the alarm
impress
had
her.
been sabotaged?
No. How dreadful. I suppose that's why the alarm isn't ringing.
Have you spoken to George?
The American?
Yes.
He promised to clear up any misunderstandings the police might have about my presence here.
Father Simeon says that the painting is evil.
The priest is a lunatic. La Maledicción is a painting, and a painting cannot be evil.
What can you tell me about Henri's involvement with the gallery?
Dear Henri, a shining diamond in the ordure that is the modern art business. He owned the gallery. What will we do without him?
Thanks for your help, Monsieur Lane. I wasn't going to get anything useful from Lane.
So we got nothing useful from either one of them. I would like to go into a quick rant. These are not really long recordings, so I'm not going to do too much of this, but evil is a subjective term defined by whichever god you follow. So if the painting displeased whichever god you follow, then yes, it could be evil. I think what he meant to say is a painting cannot be bad, which is more of a subjective term that is the general consistence, what is that word? General agreement of society. So, whichever specific society. So, a group of people could say a picture is bad and ban it, a society could. But a group of people could not say it's evil under its proper definition.
I'm pretty sure the robbery was an inside job, and I think the proof is in the office.
So, what's stopping you?
Super cop over there.
What if I create a distraction?
You do that, and I will let you have whatever I find.
That's a deal, George.
So I'm still trying to do the
Somehow,
distraction
I
here.
had to get the inspector away from the office door.
So my whole point in that rat is I suggest to people, and I try myself very hard not to use the phrase evil, because it's kind of a meaningless term. Instead, say good, bad.
Inspector Nave,
That
do
way you
have
can
a
say good or bad for these reasons. Evil can just be evil because it's forbidden by some god
is of the essence. Be quick
for no
now.
reason. So I talked to George, and that's and there was no conversation here. So we'll be done as soon as we go through this all
Could you
this.
give me a statement, Inspector?
And I want to do all of
Now
this
is
because
not the
this game
time,
is
Madame.
pretty short. Tell
I
me about
suppose
yourself.
this is quite a complex case, Inspector.
It is a robbery gone bad. Nothing more, nothing less.
Surely there's a bit more to it than that.
Please abstain from baseless conjecture, Madame. The victim's body paints a simple picture, more reliable than any witness statement. Consider the impact of the bullet, and note the concomitant lack of blood. A casual homicide, nothing more.
Lack of blood, then what's that stain?
Don't you find it odd that the thief chose that one particular painting?
Wow, look at his nose. That is a very, very hooked nose.
Things, Madame. Fingerless gloves, white dog poo-poo, nasal hair. I prefer to concern myself with murder.
His nose is pretty stubby too. George has a decent nose, but man, I don't know if that's shadowing or shading or what. And everything is still very, very dark. This would look a lot better being played on a console, on a TV, because everything would be about twice as bright. And this is a bad PC port for that alone. I've never seen a game engine do this.
Did you see the alarm was sabotage?
I have interrogated the crime scene, Madame. I am fully aware of the disabled security. I prefer biological evidence to the merely circumstantial.
So the
Body
game
parts,
is hinting
blood,
towards what I'm
important
supposed to
things.
do.
Don't you think the disabled alarm is highly suspicious, though?
The forensic team will be along shortly. Voice your concerns to them. Do not
Like-
bother me with this circumstantial fliff-laff.
I mean, take a look out here. It's a bright sunny day and you're in an art gallery that's got lights everywhere. This place should be brighter. She shouldn't be in shadow almost completely. And it feels like there might actually be a lighting engine because his side of the face is lit up and his side of the face is lit up and maybe the back of her head is lit up.
Why don't you check out the security camera footage?
Madame, that is not my area of expertise. It is the body which concerns me.
But the CCTV footage is evidence. It could help identify the killer.
Correction, Madame. It is but an indicator. The only true evidence is bodily fluid. Unless you know something I don't, then please leave me be.
The only evidence Inspector Nave seemed to appreciate involved gore.
So, take note here. The puzzle last recording that took us nearly 20 minutes to get in here really gave us no hints or no help towards what we were supposed to do. Nothing I could really figure out as far as showing my press pass to the coffee guy so he'll give me coffee. In direct opposition to that, every single response with this guy is show me some bodily fluids, show me some blood. I want to see some blood.
What do you think about the American, George?
He is deeply suspicious.
I don't like this lighting function though. It's too bright. Like where everything else is dark, it's shining behind them like almost like they're angels. I think they didn't know what they were doing. The sad thing is, I guess maybe Revolution Software, as a creator of a game, should have just written the stories and had somebody else program them. Like, I don't want them to go completely out of business. I wish they would have thought maybe in a lot of their games to make the puzzles better, but I don't know. I don't even know if I like the story, come to think of it. I kind of like George and Nico as the characters, but I kind of have a problem with everything. Of all the games, that some of the puzzles are crazy, some of the story is crazy, some of the animation is crazy. Like, none of it ever seems to hit its stride and make a 100-meter dash. It always seems to trip over itself.
Have you seen that stain on the floor by the door? What do you think it is?
I don't have time to waste discussing domestic hygiene. Please, leave me to my work.
Thanks, Inspector. I'll let you know if I remember anything else. If I was going to distract Nave, I needed to unearth new evidence or concoct some. And the bloodier, the better.
Well, here's the weird thing. There is a bottle of wine.
Drawing attention to myself would be a bad idea.
There is a bottle of wine behind him. But
Poor guy.
I don't know what else to do. Phone George. Let's see what happens.
There was no point in calling George while he was so close.
And let's call
I
Ronnie.
still had nothing new to tell Ronnie. I was going to have to do some investigating of my own.
Well, I must have unlocked something. This seems really crazy. Like,
George said that somebody had disabled it. George,
Yeah, Nico.
you said you needed to get into the office?
And you said you were going to create a distraction.
And that was the entire conversation. Thanks. Thanks, game. So what am I supposed to do with the tomato stain?
I spread some of this sauce around with my shoe. It looked a little bit like a blood stain, but it still wasn't right. If I was going to distract the cop, I had to get rid of that gun.
So let's use our press
I
card.
scraped up the chewing gum with my press card, hoping the inspector wouldn't notice.
And see, this feels like an added puzzle that adds that moon logic, the way of thinking that I would have never considered. Of course, I have exhausted everything, being effectively locked in a tiny room with very little to do, so I was able to figure it out. But I'm not really happy about how I solved that, because I don't feel smart. I feel like I just am persistent and stubborn.
Yes?
Let's go ask him about the blood stain this time.
Have you seen the stain on the floor over there? It looks like blood.
Slightly different
How very
response.
curious. I must investigate immediately, before one of these idiots steps in it.
She already stepped in it. Which also probably would mean that her shoe is
Interesting.
leaving
Maybe
trails
it is time to
everywhere.
employ the machine.
Employ the
Okay,
machine.
George, that should distract him for a while.
Nice work, Nico. I'll let you know what I find in the office.
And he got the code
I
right
was
that
sure
time.
the inspector hadn't seen me slip away, but I needed to be quick because it wouldn't take him long.
So,
At last, Stobbart.
who's he talking
Sorry,
to?
Mr. Rickenbacker. I've been busy.
Yeah, I damn well hope so. I'm watching the news.
Oh, anything interesting?
Yeah, someone stole a painting.
Oh, really?
And it was one you insured. What's going on?
Ah, yes. Well, the guy was armed, sir.
So,
You think I should have thrown myself in front of the thief, wrestled him to the ground, got myself shot?
sure would have made me feel better. Anyway, find that painting, or give me a good reason not to pay out. Please tell me that you have some leads.
I'm working on it.
So, it is worth mentioning that George Stobbart was originally a patent lawyer in the first game. In the fourth game, he became a bail bondsman. Somehow, he went from civil patent law that he would have had to spend years studying in college to criminal bondsman law. Maybe that doesn't really require any extra study just to be a bail bondsman, but probably wouldn't hurt. And now he's an insurance lawyer, like, which, again, very different than taking a patent law degree. Like, they make him a lawyer, but they make him a lawyer for something different every game. I also want to point out this game seems to be more than happy to have statues and arts of naked men and women, although they did put the fig leaf over David here.
A naked lady stared at me seductively.
Yeah, this game has always had a little bit of that in it, and we did see in the fourth game they actually did have George sleep with the other girl.
Containing pressed flowers.
Just so they could have a joke that she was almost a nun.
I didn't imagine Henri as a musician. Henri sure had his quirks.
So they're making a joke here that he was
It was a hookah
hippie.
pipe. Those things gave me a headache. The trinkets, the junk, the instruments. Henri was kind of a hippie at heart. A pair of evil eyes stared from a partially covered poster. The poster advertised the 1975 Stockholm Music Festival, headlined by a group called the Hairy Lobsters.
A eclectic mix of things. We've got roll
I
of
didn't
tape.
want to carry the tape around. I had a feeling I wasn't going to need it.
Seriously? In a point-and-click adventure game?
I didn't feel the need to take Henri's eraser.
Seriously?
Carrying an ink pot around inside my pocket would have been stupid. The ink would have stained my hands for days.
Is this a point-and-click adventure game, or are they just making fun of point-and-click adventure games at this rate? This is what you do. You pick up garbage, and then you don't use it for 10 hours, and then it comes back and turns out to be useful.
The switch controlled the small desk lamp.
Can't even turn on the light.
The lighter was corroded and grimy. It'd probably never work again. I decided to leave it.
This is ridiculous.
I didn't need a business card.
This is
I didn't
ridiculous.
like the idea of a pocket full of sharp pins.
Seriously? An entire desk and you can't pick up any of that?
It was the paper that Nico wrote for. Nico lived for the day her story would be on the front cover.
I really hate that they have no relationship. Still,
There's
and
nothing
5
else in the
games
drawer.
in. 5 games in. So here's the hairy lobsters again.
The folder looked interesting. This was very definitely tampering with evidence. It was a completion of work notice from a company called Vera Security. They weren't the guys we'd recommended. Henri had gone behind our backs to choose a different security outfit. I'd never heard of Vera Security, but there was an address and phone number on the form.
So we can use the telephone.
The telephone was an antique rotary model. The handset looked greasy.
I probably don't even need it because I have my own cell phone. And I can call Rickenbacker, who is apparently my boss. Why I have a boss is questionable.
It was a pretty flamboyant looking clock. Henri had a model of a VW camper van painted in hippie colors. The engine capacity was displayed on the back, 1600 cc. Henri may have been a hippie, but a hippie with plenty of disposable income.
That almost seems like you'd have a puzzle where you need 1600 cc's of fluid And then you would use the model somehow. I don't know. Just push the statue.
The statue was jaunty, up close and personal. I could see that the fig leaf was hinged.
So we're gonna have to swing the fig leaf.
Thankfully, there was no one around to see me do this. Very interesting.
A safe.
I wasn't going to open the safe without the key. I was fairly sure that even Henri wouldn't be silly enough to keep it hidden in the office. The woman in the picture looked vaguely familiar.
I can't see this picture well enough to see if it's anything.
The street was quiet.
Let's look at the sofa.
The sofa had clearly taken some punishment over the years.
And then all of this stuff in the foreground doesn't matter. And all of this stuff at the very top won't matter. For the simple reason of the way the menu works, you wouldn't put anything at the top here or down here. Here's a wastebasket I can pick up.
In the trash can, I found a crumpled letter from Henri's credit card company, demanding immediate payment. It listed extravagant purchases from a variety of ladies' fashion stores. The address indicated that Henri lived in the chic and expensive 16th arrondissement of Paris. I decided to put the letter back. Henri's financial problems weren't my business. But now I knew where he lived. The calendar looked like a child's school project. Henri had ringed 27th May and scrawled birthday. Poor guy hadn't quite made it to his big day. I had no reason to search the desk again. Henri's notice board was covered with all kinds of junk.
So unless the key is hidden in the hookah pipe, I think what we're gonna have to do is come back later on.
It looked like Henri had saved the best booze for the back room.
Maybe he can crawl out the window. Let's look at the CCTV. That's what we were starting with.
The CCTV system was ancient. It took individual shots and recorded them to tape. It looked like I needed to enter a passcode to view the recording.
Yeah, and is that something you do?
I needed to find a 4-digit number.
Like, why would you specifically passcode a security system? Maybe passcode it to delete things, but to view things?
Henri had ringed 27th May and
January,
scrawled
February,
birthday.
March, April, May. So that should be 0.
Henri had ringed
27?
27th May and scrawled birthday.
0527. If I am counting right. Let's see. 0527.
Bingo.
Got it.
I rewound the tape to before the robbery. This was the first interesting frame. It was Henri studying La Malédiction. He couldn't have had any idea what was about to happen.
Wait, so I can't go any
That
faster?
was the earliest shot with anything interesting on it.
Interesting. So then next frame.
Nico and I were taking a look at La Malédiction just before the robbery. Funny? The painting didn't strike me as remarkable at the time. Just odd.
Ooh, so wouldn't it be creepy if it turns out that somebody just appears, walks up here, and they didn't see him at all? That they were just entranced by the image.
That shot must have been before anyone else arrived at the gallery. Was Henri studying that picture, or did he look worried? There was definitely more to this robbery than I first thought.
See, and this feels like it only takes one picture every 15 or 20 minutes, which is not enough. You'd much prefer to have a security system that took very low quality pictures consistently than one that took one every 15 minutes and miss major events.
The image was a little fuzzy, but in the center of the painting was what looked like a snake eating its own tail. I thought about what the priest said. There was definitely something unsettling about the picture.
Well, a snake eating its own tail is the Ouroboros and a different myth altogether. Let's look at Nicole.
It seemed that whenever Nico stepped back into my life, so did trouble. There I was, looking at the exhibition. The most striking aspect of the painting was a snake eating its own tail.
Okay, next frame.
A good view of La Malediccio. I could kind of see why Father Simeon thought it was evil. There was a certain presence about it.
And we've gone another 30 minutes, so it saves, it immediately goes back here. Let's look. How much have we done? 7%. So we're about to the 10%, but at this rate, it's taken a long time. I am stretching it out, but not by that much. There almost certainly is going to come a point where we have a lot more items to pick up, a lot more conversations to have that are important. Something that starts giving us percentage points towards the completion of the game very, very fast. Because at this rate, this isn't going to be a 10-hour game. No, this is would be a 15 to 20-hour game. So it's got to speed up. And I don't want it to be as fast and full of action scenes as we saw in some of the previous Broken Swords, like 4 and 3, but it needs to actually have some things happen. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.